Namaste everyone. Today we will going to talk about an institute which very few of you know about because it is one of the most secret institute of the world. And where is that institute? That institute is in the United States. The name of the institute is Albert Einstein Institute. Now, what this institute do? Who founded that institute? How that institute work? Who funded that institute? And how this institute is being used by some of the government-sponsored groups or government itself to foment the tensions within a country. We need to know about, because today's time we are observing that several countries are observing several kind of protest in different times and the different times of the years or multiple times of the year. So how this institute use their influence to protest, to create the protest within a nation. Who founded that institute? The name of the founder of this institute is Jenny Sharp. Now we need to know who is Jenny Sharp, because to understand the ideology of any institute, we have to know about the background of the founder, who funded him and who influenced him to build that institute, because this is not a very simple institute. It is a propaganda machine of the State Department, and that institute was founded in 1983. And who helped Jenny Sharp? The man who helped Jenny Sharp was the Major General Edward B. Atkinson. Now we need to know who is General Atkinson. According to the AEI website, he has been identified as senior fellow at Institute of Land Warfare Association of the United States Army. And according to the CIA website, he was also a national intelligence officer for general purpose forces. So you can clearly see the link between the NGOs and the military industrial complex, because a people linked with the military industrial complex or Department of Defense has helped a man who has nothing to link about defense, and that man helped this Jenny Sharp, to found this institute. Now we need to know who influenced or who was the mentor of Jenny Sharp. The mentor of the Jenny Sharp was Thomas Schelling. Who is Thomas Schelling? The Thomas Schelling is a man who had a link with Henry Kissinger. First, I will going to talk about who is Thomas Schelling. The Thomas Schelling was well-known economist and professor of the Foreign Affairs, National Security, Nuclear Strategy, and Arms Control. And he worked with the US ambassador to France, whose name was Arvel Harriman, in Paris in 1948 to implement the Marshall Plan. Now we need to know what is Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan is the plan which was implemented by the United States after the end of the Second World War to fix the economy of the Western European countries such as France, Germany, Spain, Portugal. These are the countries. Now the Schelling had a 50-year affiliation with the RAND Corporation. What is RAND Corporation? RAND Corporation is a US military think tank and is widely credited to foment or escalate the tension with Vietnam. So RAND Corporation is a military organization or military think tank where the people actually came from. The people, those who are work with this organization, has the military background. They helped the US Army to foment the war against the northern Vietnam. And at that time there was an incident happened in Gulf of Tonkin. In the Gulf of Tonkin there was an incident happened with the ship. The US naval ship was attacked by so-called northern Vietnamese militia. But this was not an attack by the northern Vietnamese militia. It was a false flag operation to make the plot for the United States Army to invade the northern Vietnam by using the southern Vietnam, because the presence of the US army was already there in the southern Vietnam. They were helping the dictators of the southern Vietnam. And after that happened, after the incident happened, the United States as a country sent more troops to the southern Vietnam to invade the northern Vietnam in the name of killing the communism. But what they did, they killed several innocent people by bombing not only Vietnam but also Cambodia and the Laos. It was one of the greatest bombing after the Second World War that killed that much of people. And there was a massacre that happened in the My Lai, known as a My Lai massacre. When you go through those things, that you will going to know about that how cruel a nation can be to achieve its agenda. Now we need to know about the Henry Kissinger, because Henry Kissinger is one of the most famous and the vicious man in the history of the United States and also in the history of the world. We already know about some of the leaders, those who are in the infamous books of the infamous. Henry Kissinger is one of them, but he got the Nobel Peace Prize. Do you know why? Nobody knows why. Because he built up the relationship, or helped the United States to build up the relationship with the dictator country is China, which was China at that time, even today. And he was also involved in fomenting the tension in Afghanistan and also some of the other places of the world like South America, some places in Chile. But that man was given the Nobel Peace Prize, and he worked as a national security advisor from 1969 to 1975 and Secretary of State from 1973 to 1977 under two presidents. One was Nixon and the another was Gerald Ford. So you can clearly see that the people, those who were getting the Nobel Prize, when you will going to go for the detail that what are the peoples get the Nobel Prize, you will find out that most of the peoples are linked with the events that actually scarred the world. Now, the Jenny Sharp was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 4 times, not only once, 4 times, in 2012, in 2013, 2015 and 2019. And he has his educations or doctorate from University of Oxford. And why I am saying the University of Oxford here is important, you will going to find the link, because Oxford is a place where the social, environmental and democracy and the ideas of these things, the ideas, those who are linked to the socialism, environment and the democracy are being groomed by the groups of people in Oxford, and those groups of people actually being sent by the groups of people in organizations like the different kinds of news organization, different kinds of other NGOs. And I will going to tell you that how I am talking about University of Oxford, University of Harvard, University of MIT. These are all same categories of institute. These are one of the best institute in the world. But in those institute, you will going to find some vile things. Now, Jenny Sharp was influenced by the ideas of two, and that has been mentioned by the leftist cabal news groups. Why I am saying the leftist cabal news group? Because you will going to find the groups like BBC or New York Times, Washington Post, Waging Nonviolence. They always talked about the things that promote the democracy according to them. But they will never going to talk about the mistake that the United States made in the Iraq. They most of the times they avoid to talk about this. They have talked about or engaged in refuting the mistakes. These are the mistakes that the United States or the United Kingdom had made. They have made mistake in Afghanistan. They have made mistakes in the name of terrorism and torturing the terrorists in Guantanamo Bay and different other things. and they bombed Libya. I mean, United States and the NATO bombed Libya, and now Libya is a failed state. But these organizations never talked about it. But according to them, the Jenny Sharp was influenced by Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. These are the peoples, those who have built the ideology. But Jenny Sharp is a man who helped the government to create foment, or to create the riots in a country in the name of protest. But he was almost, the Nobel Peace Prize Committee was about to give him Nobel Peace Prize. Thank God he was not given the Nobel Peace Prize. Then the peoples like us have to come up with the criticisms again and again. Why the president or prime minister this time, I cannot recall the name of that man, the Ethiopian president or prime minister, he has been given the Nobel Peace Prize. For what? For eliminating the people of Tigray, those who are living in Ethiopian north. And he was given the Nobel Peace Prize to build the relationship with Eritrea. What is the reason behind it? How they are building, how Ethiopia is building relationship with Eritrea? By eliminating the people of Tigray, because Tigray people have some problems with Ethiopian government and also the Eritrean government. And they also have religious differences. But that man, or the leader of Ethiopia, I cannot remember his name right now, and I am forgetting his designation. I think he is the president of Ethiopia or prime minister of Ethiopia, has been given the Nobel Peace Prize. Now we will going to talk about the prize that was given to Jenny Sharp. He was not given the Nobel Peace Prize, thank God, but two prizes were given. One was Eli Hibri Peace Education Prize in 2011, and the another was Right Livelihood Award in 2012. And to understand that why these two prizes was given, you have to understand who are the founders of these two prizes and what are the background of the people, those who have founded these two prizes. First, we will going to talk about Eli Hibri Peace Education Prize. This prize has been founded by the Fawad Ali Hibri. Who is Fawad Ali Hibri? Fawad Ali Hibri is a German-American businessman and philanthropist. And he is the founder of a biomedical or biochemist organization called Emergent Biosolution. It is a pharmaceutical organization. What it produces? It produces or develops the vaccines and antibody therapeutics for infectious diseases and opioid overdoses. And it also provides the medical devices to the biodefense purposes. So this organization is making goods or making vaccines for infectious diseases and providing the weapons or providing the medical devices. We can say the weapons in this case, because most of the medical devices are lethal in nature. If they are exposed to the environment, that will going to hurt the people we saw in case of COVID. So they are providing biodefense devices. So this company is definitely linked to the military industrial complex. So in the military industrial complex, you will going to find the organization like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman. So these organization sometimes uses, because the chemical weapons are there and the United States has the chemical weapons, so the Russia, so the other countries, but India has demolished all of its chemical weapons according to the group which observe who have how many chemical weapons. So India is the only country in the world which does not have any chemical weapons, but the United States, which promote the peace, democracy and sovereignty, have the chemical weapons. You can see the irony over here. And now what this organization, the Immigrant Biosolution, do, this is unique. This company is producing one of the most controversial product, which is biotrucks. What is biotrucks? The Viothrax is a anthrax vaccines, only anthrax vaccines in the world licensed by the FDA. What is FDA? FDA, Food and the Drug Administration of the United States. So Viothrax, if you are infected by anthrax, then you have to buy Viothrax. So they have created a monopoly in producing this anthrax vaccine. So, and that organization has given the prize on the basis of peace to a man who does not have any relationship with peace, that is Jenny Sharp. This is hilarious. Now the second prize, that is Right Livelihood Award, which he got in 2012. Now who founded it? That founded it by a person who is a German-Swedish philanthropist. His name is Jacob von Wexkol, and he is also from Oxford. So you can see the link. You have to see the link. You have to know how to read between the lines. And he is not only founder of this organization, so I mean the Right Livelihood, he is also the founder of the World Future Council in 2007. And he also served as a member on the board of Greenpeace. So the protest you are observing around the world, mostly in Europe, in the name of environment, are being organized by the Greenpeace, and that man is sitting on the board of the Greenpeace. And he is also the board member of the Council of the Governance of the Transparency International. And he has been honored by the Time magazine as a European hero. So Time magazine is being run by a corporate who is $1 billion, who is having $1 billion of wealth, and he is giving the honor to a man who is responsible of creating the tension within Europe, and now he is an European hero. So you can see that what is going on, and this is not only the man. I mean, the Jenny Sharp is not the man who was given this prize. There was another man who is one of the most controversial men in India, and his name is Swami Agnivesh. Swami Agnivesh is a man who is known for his anti-India work, was given the prize by this organization for peace, or in the name of democracy, in the name of sovereignty. So these are the things that United States do to make someone hero, to make someone larger than life, to make someone the best in the world, to someone who can be seen by the people, or by the groups of people, or by the people, those who are still engaged in the education, as hero. But these are the people are the most filthiest man in the world. So therefore, the General Jenny Sharp is linked to the controversy. He has done some work which is linked to the controversy, which is led to the controversy. And that man has sometimes been called by some people as the Machiavelli of non-violence. But he is the man who fomented almost all the violence protests around the world during the time of Cold War, and obviously after the time of Cold War. And what are the controversies? The controversies actually began in the 2005 when a man called the Thierry Mason accused him in the Voltaire net of having the strong links with the Central Intelligence Agency, which is CIA, the espionage agency of the United States, and Pentagon, International Republican Institute, the RAND Corporation, the National Endowment for Democracy, which is a state department funded NGO, and he has linked with all of those organizations, and he is the man who was behind the Arab Spring. Now, I will going to talk about the Arab Spring later, because the problems that these organizations have created in the different parts of the world need to be discussed. So let Arab Spring go. But I have to tell you one thing, that the Arrow Spring was funded or was getting the help with the, this man was training, was giving help to another Syrian descent, you can call the Lebanese American professor of the political science at the California State University, the Asad Abu Khalil. This man was getting the help from the Jenny Sharp to train the people back in Egypt, in Tunisia, and in the other countries or Syria, to train the protester, then how to do the protest and what to do and what not to do. You can see that. And he has been defended. He has always been defended by the Noam Chomsky and the Howard Zinn. Who are these people? Noam Chomsky is a writer, one of the most famous writer in today's time, and Howard Zinn is one of them too. And they are the most communist writer in today's time. They defended environment in such a way that lead to the destruction of the economy. They advocated the destruction of economy at the cost of protecting the environment. Something which we cannot do in today's time, that the destruction of economy, because economy is everything in today's time. If we will going to destroy the economy, what will going to happen to us? What will going to happen to the 8 billion population? Now, more recently, the Jenny Sharp has been criticized by the George Cicarillo Maher and the Michael A. Leboids because of the later describing his activities in Venezuela for removing the government of Venezuela to put a liable government to steal what? To steal the petrol and the diesel. So this is the game of oil. So these are the organizations are being funded most of the times by the oil lobby and the lobby which is related to the defense. So you can see that things. You have to see those things. You cannot be blind in today's time because there are so many data. I am not giving you anything that is not in the internet. Everything is in internet. I'm giving you everything which is in internet, and obviously I have read so many books. After that I am giving you those informations. And there is an interview in the Jacobian, a law graduate and the adjunct lecturer, the Maurice Smith, has stated that the Sharp theories are ideologically incoherent and put protest movements in a position where they can easily co-opted by the neoliberal capitalism. So you can see that. Now, Jenny Sharp, according to the Maurice Smith, is or was one of the most important American political figure that most of you never heard of. He is the man who worked from the behind. You will going to heard so many YouTubers about the deep state. What is the deep state? The deep state, nothing but the collection of people. Those are working behind the curtain. And those people are helping a groups of peoples in State Department, in Department of Defense, and help them to earn more amount of money, more amount of resources. So it is the game of money and resources. And how the AEI do those things. AEI always plant someone within the protester or plant someone within the foreign government to find out that what are the discrepancies are there in the government implementing any rule or any bill, and what are the fault lines they can nurture to create the protest, to help the protester to create the protest more vocal or more violent. So they train the people by implementing or by installing the low noof or shadow agent that how to protest, how protest can be used, and how protest can be misused. And for which what they do? They use the poverty to exploit the people's mind. They play with the people's mind. They use the money to play with the people's mind. So they are also engaged in the psyops. And they also use the political jiu-jitsu. Political jiu-jitsu means a weapon system, a social demolition device that is capable of creating the tension within the society, that is capable of creating protest within the society. And what are the words they use? They use the word dictator or dictatorial government. They use democracy in danger. They use democratic, the government is not democratic. They always compare the government of any country with Hitler and fascism. The system of the government always compared with fascisms. And their tagline is democracy is in danger. So the people, those who are protesting against the government, their duty is to protect the democracy which is in danger. Now they also uses the constitutional order, they also uses the law and order, they also uses the courts. That is why there are people in the law and in the judiciary implemented by these people to disturb the government, to disturb the country. This is a very deep game that is being played by the people like this. Now one such example, I have to put this cutout of the Twitter where you can clearly see the lines that Kamala Harris, the recent presidential candidate, replaced Joe Biden, is saying. She is saying that the US Constitution will be abolished if the Trump became president. And she also said that the Trump will become dictator. All of us will go into jail and all rights of the oppressed classes will be snatched away. It is the most important election in our lifetime and we have to stop Trump at any cost. And these are the same lines has been used by the opposition leaders in India during the 2024 general election. They use India instead of US. She is saying that US Constitution will be abolished if the Trump becomes president. But she is not saying that how Trump will going to destroy the Constitution of the United States. They are only saying that the Trump is a dictator. Trump is comparable to Hitler. So he will going to abolish the Constitution. And second line, she is saying that the Trump will become a dictator. All of us will go into jail and all rights of the oppressed class. The key word over here is oppressed class. Oppressed class in United States, she is saying about black people, Latinos, and the other people, other immigrants from the different countries. And here in the case of India, the opposition used the oppressed class as a Muslims, only Muslims. The second majority in India is the oppressed class. But one of the minutest minority in India is Jain, is Buddhist. But their religion has never been used by the opposition parties to counter the government. They has always used Muslims to counter the government. You can see the similarities. These are the lines. Who is writing these scripts? Because looks like the same persons or the same groups of people are writing the scripts of the leaders of the different countries. In case of India, they have wrote the speech for the opposition parties, and in case of America, they are writing the speech for the Kamala Harris. Why? Why they are influencing the elections? Because they have their own interest. Because Trump is a very tough leader. He have shown his 4 years in from 2016 to 2020. He have shown how competent he was and how good he can run a country and how can he reduce the inflation of a country when the peoples are suffering. This time the peoples are suffering from inflation. The peoples are not investing in the United States. The southern border is open. The immigrants are flooding the United States. They are replacing the Native Americans. Native American in this case, everyone. Those who are living in the United States for years. They are replacing them. They are taking their resources. They are using their resources. They are polluting their cities. They are destroying their education system. They are destroying the social balance of the United States. But Trump is dictator, not Kamala Harris, who is the present vice president of the United States. What you can see that what this organization is being used by the groups of peoples who are in the government to disturb the elections of a country. to disturb the right balance of a country. Why they are disturbing the balance of a society or the country? Because they have their vested interest. What are those interests? That is not known to us. Because if some organizations are linked to producing the oil, they have their interest. If some organizations are linked to forming the AI or artificial intelligence, they have their own interest. If some organizations are linked of producing the food products, then they have their own interest. Who is funding these organizations? Nobody knows. But there are some people, those who are funding this organization. Now we need to know who is there funding this organization. That is very important. So first name is RAND Corporation. I have already talked about RAND Corporation. It is a military think tank of the United States who is funding these organizations. Why? Because RAND Corporation is linked to the military industrial complex. And who are the peoples working in the RAND Corporation? The people, those who have linked with the United States Army, Navy or Air Force. And now the military industrial complex includes the Raytheon, these are the companies, Lockheed Martin, then Northrop Grumman, and the various other organizations. There are ancillary groups. So when they are funding this organization, that is AEI, Albert Einstein Institute, the institute is helping these organizations or helping this organization to create the tension within the country, and the country in return, or creating the tension between two countries, and these countries and these organization in return are selling their products to both of these countries. In case of Iran-Iraq war, you will find out that United States sold weapons to Iran as well as Iraq. Then who is responsible? There is no good or bad, left or right, or any other ideology in geopolitics. Geopolitics is all about money. It is about economics. I am making money out of it. Then I have to do what I have to do. That is the main funda. And the Department of Defense is also funding these organizations. And the State Department funded organization NED. NED is an organization, is called the National Endowment for Democracy. This is a state funded organization. This organization is also funding the other organization like USAID. The USAID is also funding the NED. NED also funding the NDI, National Democratic Institute. So they are all linked. They are funding each other. And they are helping each other to create the problems for the corporations. The corporations which are in pharmaceuticals, corporations in defense, corporations in foods, corporations in other things. Now, the next organization is International Republican Institute. All are same. US Institute for Peace. This is an organization which is linked to the CIA and also linked to the State Department. Ford Foundation. Ford Foundation is one of the biggest corporate groups in the world that is linked in almost all businesses, from banks to foods to cars to aeroplanes to defense, everything. And the George Soros Open Society Foundation. Frequently in these days you are frequently hearing about the Open Society Foundation, because Open Society Foundations are being funded by all of those organizations I have already mentioned. So these are the organizations, those who are doing the things for organizations, those who are in corporates, to help those corporates to make more money. Nothing else. To make more money. Now, there is another organization which is a CIA linked organization, and also this organization is linked to Pentagon and the State Department. The name of the organization is International Control for Non-Violence Conflict. And who is funding this organization? And these organizations is taking fund from the private fortune of the hedge fund multimillionaire. Who are those multimillionaire? One such name is Peter Ackerman. Peter Ackerman, where he is investing, what is his hedge fund? He is the managing director of Rockport Capital Inc. So this is his hedge fund, and serve as a member of the IREX Global Advisory Council. He is also the board member of Council of Foreign Relations and the Atlantic Council. What is Council of Foreign Relations? The Council of Foreign Relations is one of the oldest foreign policy making organization. I mean, for the United States foreign policy, it has always been and is in today's time is being influenced by this organization. Name is Council of Foreign Relations, founded by the David Rockefeller, the Rockefeller Foundations. What is the Rockefeller Foundation interest? They have the Standard Oil. They are linked to the oil business. You can clearly link it. And he is also working with the International Institute of Strategic Studies. This is also the deep state groups. And he wrote a book with Ginny Sharp. He was a co-author of several books. I mean, he has written 2 or 3 books. So co-author with Ginny Sharp. You have to read between the lines. I have already said you can link it. Now he has also worked with the Freedom House. Who is funding the Freedom House? The same organizations. Those who are funding the AEI, funding the Freedom House. The organizations like State Department I have already said. And there are some institutional investors. Those who are funding these groups. There are no names. That is why I am not mentioning the names of those institutes. But you will going to find out when you will go deep and deep. Then you will going to find out those organizations, the institutional investors, the asset management companies are also investing in the groups such as ICNC, AEI, NED, NDI. And he is also working with the advisory board of Cato Institute and Freedom House. I have already mentioned. What is Cato Institute? This is an interesting institute because the founder of this institute are the 8 Crane, Murray Rothbard, and Charles Koch. Who is Charles Koch? The Charles Koch is the founder of the Bloomberg, and he is also the founder of the Bloomberg Billionaire Index. And what is his estimated worth? I mean, how much he have? He have $64.9 billion. It's a humongous money. He can buy Sri Lanka. He can buy half of Pakistan. With the help of this money, he can buy anything in the world, any island nation in the world. Like Madagascar, he can buy Madagascar. He can buy any Pacific island. So, and what these organizations do? These organizations working on the civil liberties and the foreign affairs. And he adhered the open border and demilitarization of police. So, why? The open border policy is been running by the State Department in today's time because no organizations, actually the organizations, those who are linked to the US government are helping the immigrants to flood the country. They are not or opposing those immigrants not coming into the country. They are helping those immigrants. The Texas tried to oppose, but the court has ordered that Texas has to stay back, allowing those peoples to come into the country. You can see that because these organizations are helping or funding the State Department groups or funding the politicians, those who are in the politicians obviously in their pockets. In any country, any businessman have the link with the politicians because politicians are the people, those who are helping these peoples, to make more money. So that is why you will going to find that why the politicians are having that much of money if they were not in politics or they were not in other businesses and lifetime in the politics. Suppose the Hillary Clinton, suppose the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, how much money they have? They have money around $100 to $150 million. How much they get? What is their salary? Their salary is around 200k, maybe less than 200k, maybe more than 200k, I do not know. But how much time it will going to take for them to make the 100 million or 150 million? How much? Maybe more than 100 years, maybe more than 300 years. The human beings, what is their age? They are right now at the age of 70s or 60s. And now they were engaged in politics for life, and they have the properties or the money worth 100 to 150 million. How is it possible? This is possible in this way, because all these politicians are linked with these groups, and these groups are linked with the corporate groups, and those corporate groups are linked to the institutional investors, and those institutional investors are linked to the some of the families, those who are running these institutional investors. So this is the link. This is the link. You have to understand the link. Now we will going to talk about the protest. The protest that these foundations has invested in to help their country. That is a wise thing they did, because they have did for their country. In 1990s, when the Soviet Union was about to break, at that time the AEI team assisted the Lithuanian opposition leaders in organizing the popular resistance against the Red Army. Red Army was the Soviet army. This is according to the AEI website. This is not a hidden fact. And AEI also provided the training with the anti-communist groups in Tibet, Estonia and Belarus. So United States has always been against the Soviet Union, this time the Russia. Why? They needed enemy. They needed a big enemy, and Russia is big. Geographically, it is very big. So that is why Russia has always been the enemy of the United States. Why now China? Because China is now challenging the United States, and China make the money with the help of the United States. United States helped China to make money. How? Because the United States sold their intellectual property rights to China to manufacturing the goods for the people of the United States and the world. And now the United States is having the problem with China, because China is showing the red eye to the United States. You can see that. And in 1998, there was a problem in Yugoslavia. What was the problem? The Yugoslavia was a communist country, one of the biggest communist countries at that time, because Soviet Union was a communist country, China was a communist country, Vietnam was a communist country, Yugoslavia was also a communist country. But what NATO and the United States did, they fomented tension within the groups in the basis of religion, in the basis of caste, in the basis of creeds. They funded different kinds of groups within Yugoslavia. That is why we are seeing the Serbia in this time, Montenegro in this time, Albania and other countries, those who used to be the part of Yugoslavia. Kosovo is one of the countries. India do not recognize Kosovo as a nation, because India do think that the Kosovo is legally the part of the Serbia. That is why the Kosovo's recognition is not there. The Indian government has never favored Kosovo, never recognized Kosovo. So in 1998, the AEI, with the help of the CIO obviously, trained OPTOR. What was OPTOR? OPTOR was a group of the Serbian youth opposing the Serbian leader at that time, the Slobodan Milosevic, which was running the government under Europe's only communist government and the last communist government, which was under the Slobodan Milosevic. What they did, they sent their people or the agents in Serbia to train these groups, to create the tensions on the basis of religions. That is why we are seeing the Bosnia-Herzegovina. Bosnia-Herzegovina used to be the part of the Yugoslavia. And Bosnia-Herzegovina have a handsome amount of Muslim population. So Serbia invaded Bosnia-Herzegovina, and in return NATO bombed Serbian capital. They killed the people indiscriminately without thinking of that how many people will going to lost their life. And that had happened during the time of Clinton's presidency. They do these kinds of things. United States do these kinds of things with the help of these organizations, that is AEI. People need to understand that what United States stand for. What is the purpose of the United States? If United States is helping someone, then why it is helping someone? Because United States is not a country which generally helps someone. So that is why there is a very popular proverb that if you are an enemy of the United States, then it is. If you are a friend of the United States, then it is very dangerous. So if someone is trying to be the friend of the United States, that country needs to be very careful. Now the Rose Revolution in Georgia. What was the reason behind the Rose Revolution of Georgia? Because in 2003, there was a NATO summit in Bucharest. And in that NATO summit, the NATO decided to allow Ukraine and the Georgia to be the parts of the NATO. And Russia said that it is very wrong move. It is very wrong to make Georgia and Ukraine to be the part of NATO, because it will going to hurt the strategic interest of Russia, and the United States will come into the doorstep of Russia with nuclear weapons. And why they were interested? Why NATO was interested? Because United States was interested. So Russia protested with all of its effort. And the AEI, or the United States, with the help of the Albert Einstein Institute people, created the tension of the protest in Georgia. That was named the Rose Revolution. And after that, Russia invaded and captured the two regions, the Abkhazia and South Ossetia. These were the regions where the most of the oils were there. Russia captured that. And now the Georgian economy is in the doomed place. So the leaders of those countries have to understand that why the United States are being cozy with those countries. Now the Venezuela, United States is always greedy about Venezuela, because Venezuela is the country where you will going to find Venezuela is the world's largest producer and the reservoir of oil. So not the Saudi Arabia have the most amount of oil, Venezuela have the most amount of oil. So that is why United States have always tried to capture Venezuela, or tried to install the pliable government in Venezuela. And Venezuela used to, and even in today's time, is a communist nation. So during the time of the Hugo Chavez rule, they tried to install someone pliable by creating the tension within the country, by creating something which will going to disturb the government of Hugo Chavez. That was the plan. Now the Arab Spring. Arab Spring is a massive protest that was created by the people. Not only the AEI. This cannot be the project only of the AEI or Albert Einstein Institute. According to my research, there were several institutes, those who were involved with that, along with the CIA and the other organizations, other espionage organizations of Europe. MI6 were also involved. AEI obviously was involved. With them, the NED, the National Empowerment for Democracy and Endowment for Democracy, was also involved. NDI was also involved. The USAID was also involved. And the USCIRF was also involved. And if there are any other institute that I have left, they were all involved. Because this was not a project to disturb only one country. This was a project to disturb the region, the North African region and the entire Middle East. And the tension created, or tension was the origin of the Arab Spring, was the Tunisia. And who was the ambassador of the Tunisia at that time? That time the Tunisian ambassador was Gordon Gray III. And Gordon Gray III was appointed in Tunisia on August 20, 2009, and he served in Tunisia until July 5, 2012. And what the Gordon Gray III did, he interfered in the government. He lectured the government of Tunisia in the name of, as well as democracy, sovereignty and the freedom of speech. And he helped some of the peoples of the some of the groups of Tunisia to remove the government of Tunisia. And the Jasmine Revolution happened in Tunisia in 2011. As a result, the Jasmine Revolution, the Rose Revolution we saw in Georgia, and this is the Jasmine Revolution that has happened in the. And he was awarded with the highest civilian award of Tunisia by the president who came after the revolt. He gave him the highest award of Tunisia. So you can see that. This is the game. This is the biggest game is being played by the USA with every country. If they have a problem with any country, then there is a protest. Now, I would like to say you more about the Gordon Gray. The Gray served on the board of directors of Amid East. Amid East is an organization founded in 1951, and it provides the English language educations and the professional skills training to the people or to the groups of peoples or to the students, those who are living in the Middle Eastern countries and the North African countries. So there is a link. So what are the countries in which they are involved? In which countries they are involved? Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Tunisia, United Arab Emirates, West Bank or Gaza, and Yemen. And how many countries have saw the problems from 2009 to today 2024 is Egypt, because Egypt was the most affected. Egypt was most affected by the Arab Spring because the Egyptian government was removed and the new government under the Muslim Brotherhood came into power. The Muslim Brotherhood, which is being funded by the groups such as State Department, and there is a say that the Mossad is also funding the Muslim Brotherhood to create the tension in the countries, those who are in Middle East. So Egypt, Iraq, you can see Iraq was invaded by the United States to remove the leader of the Iraq, the Saddam Hussein, in the name of democracy again. Kuwait have never saw the problem unless there was a problem in 1990s, the first Gulf War, because of the Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. But Kuwait has always been a very peaceful nation because Kuwait has the business interest, and United States, several US companies are taking the oil of the Kuwait and selling those things. Lebanon is burning since 2009. Libya is a failed state after the elimination of Muhammad Gaddafi, who was eliminated again by the US and NATO in the name of democracy, sovereignty, freedom of speech. Morocco does not have any problem. Saudi Arabia do not have any problem because Saudi Arabia is one of the biggest partner of the United States, and he is one of the biggest customer of the US weapons. Tunisia has already saw the problems. United Arab Emirates is the same story, did not have any problem with the United States. And Gaza has been bombarded by Israel after October 7 event 2023 because 1,207 Israeli people were killed by the Hamas, the terrorist groups. And Yemen is in a continuous violent protest and still in the violence because of the Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization funded by Iran, and obviously these are the problems has been created by some other nations because the Yemen problem is very unique because there is a hand of China, there is a hand of Iran, and there is also a hand of Russia. And why? Because to disturb the government of Saudi Arabia, because Yemen always advocate to capture the Mecca and Medina, the holiest place of Islam, and Hezbollahs are Shia, not Sunni, and Saudi Arabians are Sunni. Now, when you will going to go for the AEI website, then you will going to find a list of 198 methods of non-violent actions. What are those methods? I cannot say all those 196 process through which they foment the violence protest. They always say that they are in the favor of non-violent protest, but these are the ways which is been written in the website. They always lead to the violent protest. Some of them I would like to mention, that is the mock elections, that if election is going on within the country, the opposition groups has been funded by the AEI to organize the mock election to discredit the general elections of any country. That has already happened in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is already observing or seeing or witnessing the violent protest in the name of quota, which was given by the Sheikh Hasina government to the people, those who fought for the Bangladesh liberation in 1971. You can see that. Now the mock funerals, they also organize the mock funerals is one of them. The homage at the burial places, the nataks, you're going to see in case of India, the opposition leader always visit the graves of Mahatma Gandhi to show their cognizance with the democratic natures, but they are not democratic. They always do something that is not helpful to the countries, and they always promotes the symbolic publicities. What are the symbolic publicities? The rude gesture. In recent times you are observing that some of the opposition leaders in India are showing the rude gestures towards the political parties which is in power, or towards the groups of people, those who are favoring the government at this time. So rude gesture, arrogance, these are the things that is being promoted by the AEI to do the things in such a way that will going to harm the interest of a country. Sometimes trade boycotts. Why the trade boycotts is very important? Because the organizations like AEI wants to destroy or wants to hurt the economic interest of any country. Because when the economic countries is hurt, then something big will going to happen within the country. Because economy is directly linked to the peace within the country. If economy is good, then there is a peace. If any country is not peaceful, then you have to assume that the country's economy not in a good position. Countries like Burundi, when you will going to go to the Burundi, it is one of the poorest countries in the world. You will never going to find the peace in that country because people do not have the money to feed. And AEI, Albert Einstein Institute, need the people like them, because these are the people can be handled with the help of the money. They brainwashed them that in the name of the government is oppressed. The government is helping the capitalist. Government is not helping the poor peoples or minorities. That is what we are saying in today's time. Now, what are the board of directors? Because the name of the board of directors are very much important, because to understand the ideology of a group, you need to understand the people, those who are involved in board of directors. Now let me tell you what are the name of the board of directors and what they are linked to. The first name is Elizabeth Defies, and she is from the Staten Hall University, and she wrote extensively in the areas of international law, human rights, gender equality, European Union law, US constitutional law. Gender equality. What is gender equality? Today's time you are seeing that gender equality in the United States. They are promoting that there is nothing called gender. The men can get pregnant, the woman can be turned into a man, and men can be turned into a woman. And gender fluid, concept of gender fluid is there in the United States. There are more than 68 gender in the United States in today's time. The concept of binary, non-binary. So these are the concept that includes the gender equality. And she is currently served on the Council of International Affairs and the Committee on Foreign and Comparative Law for the Association of the Bar of the City of New York, and previously chaired the International Law Committee on the United Nations for the association. So United Nations is also getting these peoples, also taking the help from these peoples. Therefore, when something happened with any people, those who are linked to those peoples, the United Nations come in defense and say or advise or sometimes order the government not to take action against those peoples. Now the second man is Kurt Goring. Who is Kurt Goring? Let me tell you. In July 2021, the Goring concluded nearly 10 years as an executive director of the Center for Victims of Torture, which grew rapidly during his tenure to become the world's largest torture rehabilitation organizations, and served as the research at Amnesty International Secretariat in London. So, what is Amnesty International? Amnesty International is a group just like AEI or Albert Einstein Institute. They are the same institute of same category, those who helped the people to foment the tensions. If you are observing the tensions or riot or protest within a country, then you have to assume or you know that these are the organizations are helping these peoples to organize the protest. And these protests most of the times becomes violent. Now, the third man is the choral sergeant. She is a woman. And serve as a mediator on the NHAMP roster. And then is Mary A. King, the professor of Peace and Conflict Studies for UN-affiliated University of Peace, a distinguished fellow of the Rothermere American Institute, University of Oxford, Britain, and the scholar in the residence of the School of International Service of the American University, Washington, D.C. Mary A. King, she is linked to the Oxford. Jenny Sharp is linked to the Oxford. And most of the people, those who are linked with these organizations, are from Oxford. Next is Peter O'Connor. Peter O'Connor is from the New York City. New York City is a place where the woke peoples are there. Woke means those who are promoting the genders, environment, so many other things, but their city is dwindling. When you will going to go to the New York cities, then you will going to find the smell of marijuana everywhere. I do not know if someone is promoting peace, then why that city is promoting the marijuana. Marijuana is a drugs. Why? Now the executive director. Who is the executive director of this institute? Her name is Jamalia Rakib. Who is Jamalia Rakib? She is from MIT and she worked with Jenny Sharp for 15 years. After that, she became the executive director. And Jamalia Rakib is linked to the Oslo Freedom Forum. Who won the Nobel Peace Prize? Who knows for what? Nobody knows for what. And she is also linked with the United Nations Alliance of Civilization. And where is her ancestry? Her family fled Afghanistan during the Soviet invasion. So she has a deep hate for this. Right now there is no existence of Soviet Union. Right now it is Russia. So I am assuming that she has a deep hate for Russia. So United States, with the help of this organization, collect the peoples and give the peoples the fellowship or help the people to get the education from the US universities and then give them the jobs in NGOs such as this. And who is the director of education? Director of education in this organization is Joe Orthy. Joe Orthy is also from the University of Oxford. And the next one, the director of program is the Ahmed Gonsh. Ahmed Gonsh is the founder of the Kabir Foundation. And the foundation's work is the focus on the Middle East and the North Africa. And the Kabir Foundation receives the grants of $50,000 from HRA Bitcoin Development Fund. So it is the Bitcoin Development Fund. Why the Bitcoin is here? Because the Bitcoin is a virtual currency that cannot be tracked. I mean, the government cannot track the flow of these currencies. No government. I mean, United States can in today's time because they have mainstreamed the Bitcoin or any other coins such as Bitcoin. But there are several countries in the world, they never willing to, mainstream these kinds of coins because nobody knows that what are these coins are, who is funding these coins, who is making these coins. These are not physical one. These are all virtual. And the foundation announced the Jamal Khashoggi disinformation monitor. Who was Jamal Khashoggi? Jamal Khashoggi was a man from Saudi Arabia who had some problems with the Saudi government. That is why he used to write for the Washington Post, and he was eliminated by Saudi Arabia in Turkish embassy. I mean, in Saudi Arabian embassy, which is in Turkey. And there was a uproar when the Jamal Khashoggi was removed, eliminated by Saudi Arabia. Now, I have already said about the HRF. HRF stands for Human Rights Foundation. Who is its founder? Its founder is Thor Halvorsen. Thor Halvorsen is also the founder of the Oslo Freedom Forum, with whom the Jamila Rakib is linked, and with whom so many other peoples are linked. The Oslo Freedom Forum has been given the Nobel Peace Prize, and the Thor Halvorsen appeared on the television outlets such as the Fox News channels, the O'Reilly Factor, the Hannity and the Colemans, the MSNBC's Hardball with the Chris Matthews, and also CNN. He was a speaker at TEDx at the University of Pennsylvania in October 2010. That man is everything. The Thor Halvorsen is the founder of Oslo Freedom Forum, which has got the Nobel Prize for nothing. Who is that? He is a descendant of a relative and the respective of Venezuela's first president, Cristobal Mendoza, from 1811 to 1812, and the libertarian Simon Bolivar. So his family tree is linked to the Venezuela's first president, Cristobal Mendoza, and the libertarian Simon Bolivar. So he talked about the Venezuelan human right and advocated the human rights in Venezuela, produces the film on human rights, and got Nobel Prize. This is hilarious. You can get the Nobel Prize if you are linked to these peoples. It is easy because Barack Obama got the Nobel Prize for nothing. Why? Why Barack Obama was given the Nobel Prize? For being black. Only the first black president of the United States. Anyway, now let's talk about the Alexander Repening. Who is Alexander Repening? Which is the Education Associates of the AEI. Education manager, you can say. Linked to the right livelihood. What is right livelihood? I have already talked about right livelihood. Who gives the right livelihood award? Founder is a Jacob von Wexel. And who got the right livelihood award? Right livelihood award is the Jenny Sharp has got the right livelihood award. And what is its ideology? The Alexander Repening's ideology. He is a socialist and the writer engaged in climate justice with a background in the social science and economics. This man is a climate justice linked with the social science and also in the economics. How is it possible to bring the justice to climate by keeping the economy alive? There is no possibility of having the climate and having the environment at same time, or climate at the same time, because if economy is going on, then it will somehow going to hurt the climate. If the economy is going on, because to do the economy, because economy has to run, because there are so many peoples, because economy provides the jobs to the peoples. If job will not going to be there, then peoples will going to create the protest in the name of jobs, in the name of other things. So these are the things that are happening because the organization, those who are working in a circle, because we have read about the nitrogen circle, oxygen circle. So these are the circles. They funded these peoples, they funded the climate, then they create the problem, they funded the people, those who are not getting the jobs, then create the problems, and in return they're getting the fund from the corporations, those who have the vested interest, those who are helping these organizations. So this is a circle. You have to understand it. Now the last person is the operation associate. Her name is Jessica Darway. She is a financial and the donor management. Joined AEI in 2010, worked closely with the Jamila Rakib, editing, writing projects, coordinating with the translators, preparing the reports, and appeals, newsletter, grant applications, and reporting and correspondence. She do everything. She has a BA in French and the Francophone studies and the minor in history from the University of Massachusetts. So MIT, Harvard, these are the institute that actually have the link with these groups, because after the end of the 1945, the United States understand, and the corporates of the United States understand, that they have to control the world because they have the business interest. So to control the world, they have to control the education. And to control the education, they have to control the minds, those who are working in the news channels or in the newspapers. So to hypnotize the peoples in the name of democracy, in the name of eliminating the communisms, in the name of sovereignty, in the name of human rights, they have to control this organization, the flow of communications, the flow of resources, and obviously the democratic structures of any nations. They wanted to control. That is why these are the institute has been filled with the people such like this Jenny Sharp. Not only the Harvard Institute, not only the MIT or Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Oxford is there. There are other institutes. King's College is there. LSE, London School of Economics is there. And the Einstein Institute, the Albert Einstein Institute, until 2000, the institute provided the funding for the Einstein Institute Fellowship. First scholars, sometimes referred to as a Einstein Fellows, and was also funding the funding body for the program on non-violent sanctions in the conflict and defense at the Harvard Center for International Affairs. Harvard Center for International Affairs is a center where where these peoples, the corporates generate the peoples with the minds, and they're creating the robots with the communist mind. That is the simple thing. So now I have some questions to end our discussions. I have some questions. My questions are that why these organizations are creating the problems, why we cannot achieve something with the help of the peace or the peaceful environment, how and why AEI fund those projects. That is the thing we need to know. That is why we need more deep research. I will going to do that for you, and I will going to come up again that what and how they are funding these things. I have already talked about the funding, but there are so many deep research required. Now, second question is the how instability helped the Western businesses to make the money. I have already told you that why not the peace is important to these people. They talked about peace. But why the peace is not important? Because the peace is the business to create the war. This is the simple concept. Peace is a business to create the war, and the war is the money. The war is equals to money. Because the weapons are being sold to the countries, those who are taking the money with the help of the American dollar, because the American dollar is the reserve currency of every country. If United States is selling weapons to any country, those countries are paying these organizations in dollar, and United States in the dire need of dollar in today's time, because the debt of the country has reached more than $34 trillion, and they need dollar. And that is why they need tensions. That is why the world is observing tension in today's time. Now the last question, does the government of every democratic nation needs to ban such organizations which promote anarchy in the name of democracy, peace and sovereignty? It is required. According to me, it is required for the government to ban these organizations to operate within any country. Suppose pick any country. That China has already banned these organizations. Who cares? That is why countries like India, Bangladesh, these are the countries need to ban these organizations and their work. Because until and unless these countries will ban these organizations, the problems of protest will go on and on. This is the end of today's topic. So thank you very much. If you have any questions Or if you want to write the questions I have already mentioned, so you can write it in our comment sections. I will definitely going to give you the answer of the questions that you will going to ask to me. So thank you very much. Thank you for your support.